I was just focused on getting to New York and I made it happen. And I think that's what I think a lot of people with quote unquote success will say is like, you kind of have to be a little bit psychotic in terms of your determination and like make it your life until you get there. And I really think that's what I did.
Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. From a small reservation in Northern Ontario to the glossy pages of Vogue magazine, Christian Allaire's journey is a testament to the power of unwavering determination. As a child, Christian fell in love with fashion by watching his family create intricate, colorful regalia. Today, he's a journalist and a cultural storyteller who's rewriting the rules of representation in the fashion world. This week, we dive into the value of dreaming big, building community in an exclusive industry, and bringing Indigenous designers to the mainstream. I hope you enjoy the conversation. This podcast is brought to you by TELUS Smart Home Security. Secure, simplify, and easily monitor your home from anywhere using the Smart Home Security app. Visit TELUS.com/smarthome-security to learn more about Canada's most trusted security provider. Hi, Christian. It's great to see you.
Hi, nice to see you too.
So I'm excited to talk to you about so many things. I mean, you're the senior fashion writer at Vogue. You've just written a book. You are living, I don't know, a lot of people's dream in New York. And so, yeah, lots to talk about. But your book is called From the Res to the Runway, Forging My Path in Fashion. So this book just came out.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's crazy. Like you spend so long working on it and then all of a sudden it's out in the world and people are reading it and it feels crazy, but I'm excited.
It's amazing. So and you're also the senior fashion writer at Vogue magazine.
Yeah.
Vogue magazine. Oh my gosh. Was this always a dream?
Yes, actually, like I write about this in my book, but I remember sort of my my real introduction to the whole fashion world was Vogue. I would steal sort of the magazines my mom had around the house. And she's not really a fashion girl, so I don't know why she was always buying Vogues, but in retrospect, they were always in the house and I would steal them and read them in my room. And I would have this stack in my closet of all the Vogues. And that stack is still there in my parents' house today. I think there's like over 100 copies in there. So yeah, I've always loved the magazine. I've always loved it and always wanted to work there. And then I eventually made my way here.
It's unbelievable. And I mean, when you talk about magazines, I was a teenager in the 80s, so I do still have some of my magazines too, because I do, keep things, memories. And I love magazines. Like, I just love them.
Yeah, there's something different to like a physical flip through.
And I know that, we can read them digitally now and all that sort of stuff, but there is nothing like holding a real magazine and flipping those pages. Everything just looks better. Yeah, it's so good. So you grew up on the reservation. So how did fashion play a role in your childhood?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot, like where my love of fashion comes from, because I really had no reason to love fashion. I mean, my reservation is called Nipissing First Nation. It's in Northern Ontario, Canada. Pretty remote place, honestly. Not near anything high fashion, I'll tell you that much. So I really think my love of fashion stemmed from sort of our cultural clothing. I really do believe that. We were going to our powwows every summer. My sister was a jingle dress dancer. So I would always see sort of my aunts or my grandma, my mom, like they were always making things for her. Whether it was the beadwork for her moccasins or like the ribbons for her skirt so I would always just be around fashion and I saw how meaningful and special it was to our culture. And I think that sort of clicked in me that fashion could be something deeper than just pretty things. It could be like sort of an extension of your identity and it could be a form of storytelling. And I think that's what really got me hooked from a really young age. And then from there, just snowballed. And then I started reading Vogue. I started watching fashion television. I idolized Jeannie Becker. Like it just grew and grew to just becoming totally obsessed in all aspects.
Yeah, and the storytelling is so interesting too because I mean, you see it in a lot of beadwork too. Like I'm thinking about some earrings that I have that I bought from an Indigenous artist, and they tell a story. And um, fashion can do that. It can tell stories in all different cultures, and a lot of us don't really notice that.
Exactly. I mean, when I would see my aunts like working on my sister's regalia, like e every ribbon on her skirt, like, had a purpose, like, the colors represented, the favorite colors of our elders or the medicine wheel teachings. You would see sort of the colors of that sort of trickle into her clothing, so I understood that, like, what we wore could be an extension of ourselves, and it could, like, sort of be sort of a conversation starter, and, yeah, I think I mean, that's how I approach fashion now is I always try to find a deeper meaning or a bigger story than just what clothes are. And I really think it's like seeing our powwow clothing that really like got me interested in that.
Mm. And so you're not you're a journalist, and I mean, how did you ever want to be a designer?
I think there was a moment where I toyed around with that until I realized I'm horrible at craft work. I've tried. My sister has tried to teach me like how to bead. It's not my forte. And I love learning about design and writing about design, but I don't think I have the eye for design.
And well, you're good at storytelling and telling other people's stories. So, how did you said you grew up in a very remote area. What was the journey like from, remote Ontario to New York City? It seems like, oh, you were a star overnight. It just happened, but there's a lot of hard work in there.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it's an unusual arc, I would say. So it was a very interesting journey. It's hard to sum up in a short sentence, but, ultimately, like, it took a lot of perseverance and determination and a little bit of delusion, honestly, to get to where I wanted to be. Um, I think about it now in hindsight, and I was very calculated about where I wanted to be. And so, to get to Toronto to study journalism, I was very calculated about that. I would spend all my days in high school writing for our local newspaper. So I had the clippings to get to Toronto. And then once I got there, I started interning at magazines like Flair Magazine, the National Post, so that I could get experience. And then that landed me an internship in New York. Like everything I did was always like just thinking ahead. And honestly, like, in school, I was such a loser. I would not party. I did not go out. I was just focused on getting to New York and I made it happen. And I think that's what I think a lot of people with quote unquote success will say is like, you kind of have to be a little bit psychotic in terms of your determination and like make it your life until you get there. And I really think that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, they say, find something that you love and then be prepared to work your butt off.
Exactly, and make it your life, not just a 9 to 5 thing. Because even today, I'm working still 7 days a week, like, it doesn't stop. So, you have to really love it.
So, what is it like in New York for you as an Indigenous journalist? Was it easy to find community?
Mm. It was I mean, yes and no. Like, when I first moved here, I didn't know a single Native person here, and I didn't ri I lacked that sense of community, and I think that's why I started writing about Indigenous fashion a lot, it was my way of connecting back to home and where I come from, and I was just interested in it. And in sort of, like, taking that approach in my work, I started to meet people very easily, like, I quickly realized that any sort of Indigenous event in New York, everyone goes to. Like, it's all the same people at these events. Like, we're all very supportive of one another in sort of the arts realm. And going to these events, I quickly made friends, like, because you really can't avoid them once you're on the scene. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that we can carve spaces and communities for ourselves in areas that are not really conducive to that. Like New York is not, you know, an indigenous minded city. Like, we're all about nature and being connected to the land and our teachings. And this is very much the opposite of that. But somehow there's a really nice community here. And so I'm really thankful for finding that. And it took me a long time too. I've been here 10 years, and I would say it took me maybe 5, 6 years to get my solid group of friends. But I think it's really cool that now it's easier than ever to find each other.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's such a big city. It's huge, and it I can see how it could take years to find your community and find, it's because it can be a very lonely place. You can be very lonely even if you're in a very big city, right? Until you find your community. Do you think it's a tight-knit community? Do you think other young, Indigenous, you know, kids, I wanna say kids, everybody's a kid to me now, but younger person, coming to New York, would it be easier today than it was 10 years ago, or do you think maybe it's a little harder now?
I think it's easier for sure. Like, there's so many cool events going on in the city. Like, I could go to an Indigenous fashion event every day if I wanted to. There's so many things going on here. And I think, we like to complain about social media and all that, but it really has made it easier for people to find events, to connect with people. And I think even 10 years back when I was in Toronto in college, I found that really difficult. I didn't really make any Indigenous friends in school because I didn't know where to go, where to find people. It wasn't as easy to find, and that was just 10 years ago. So I think now it's much easier, and I think that's because a lot of, progression has been made in terms of sort of visibility for Indigenous artists, and spaces have opened up for Indigenous artists. So as a result, there's just more things going on. And so I think that's really great because that ripple effect makes it easier to sort of create a community.
And so your book, from the res to the runway, um, how did that go over in your group of friends? Like, did you run this idea by people? Or were you like, I think I want to write a book? Or did you just do the book? This is something that you've had on your to-do list.
It's funny, I really did not intend to write this. I was approached. I think anyone who knows me knows I don't really like talking about myself. And even the writing I do is never really, I don't do personal writing a lot. I tend to profile others. So I was approached to do this. And at first I was like, no. I was like, I don't want to do that. I literally was like, I would love to work with you guys. I pitched other ideas, but essentially they were interested in my story. Um, and it kind of horrified me at first, honestly, to like really, because you have to open yourself up a lot. Um, but I think in doing it, it was a good learning experience because it just made me think about things in my life that I hadn't really considered, I guess, or thought that deeply about. So it was very like educational for myself to do. But while I was writing it, I didn't tell anyone anything. I kept it very secret v- up until release date. I didn't give anyone an early copy. Like I was like, you'll read it when you read it.
And so what has the response been?
It's been good. It's actually I've been blown away by the response, and it's been really interesting to see what people connect to. Because you never really know how things are going to go over, just in general. But people have really resonated with different parts in a way that I didn't really, I guess, anticipate or expect. And that's been really cool because, like, we all go through things and we all have different takeaways from our experiences, but it's cool to see how people connect to that and hear sort of their version of that, or and even like not a lot of non-indigenous folks too. Like I knew this book would resonate with the indigenous community because we all have similar hurdles we have to overcome, but I've heard like from so many other cultural backgrounds and people who sort of share parallels, I guess. So that's been really interesting too. People have been so nice in sending me notes and takeaways and all that, and it's only been a week, so
That's fantastic. And I mean, I'm sure that, you know, younger people will read the book too and feel um like, yeah, I can do that. I can do this. I can do my thing, whatever your thing is, right? Because we all have dreams or ambitions or things that we want to do. And sometimes we can talk ourselves out of things, right? Like the idea of moving to New York, the idea of like a lot of people dream of that and never do it because it's so scary and daunting. And no community there. You're going there on your own, and that's a scary thing. And so I'm sure that there's a lot of people that read your book, whether in fashion or not, and go, "Wow, he followed, you know."
Yeah. Well, that was essentially the goal of the book. Like, that's kind of what convinced me to do it too, was like, if I can inspire one little native res kid to be like, oh, well, if he can do it, I can do it. Well, then I was like, then I've done something meaningful then. You know what I mean? I really, like I said, I have no business being where I've ended up. Like that, this was not handed to me on a silver platter. Did not know one person here who could help me get here. So if I can somehow make it a reality, like literally anyone can. So yeah, that was kind of that's how the book sort of shaped up to be, was like hopefully a little bit inspirational and to show that, yeah, if you have a dream and you want to pursue it, go for it, because the one person who's going to make it happen is you, nobody else.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, it's the thing we don't want to hear sometimes because we do want a magic, a magic potion. And it's like, you can do it. You really can do it. I was reading some stuff about you. You love Britney Spears.
I do. Yeah. It's actually I mean, my phone screen.
Oh, well, there you go. So do you write about Britney?
I do, a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but I covered her memoir when it came out. That was a big moment. I've done sort of like her best fashion moments. Yeah, I enjoyed the Britney beat.
Yeah, the Britney Beat. I do too. I enjoy reading the Britney Beat myself. What are some of your favorite Vogue assignments?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I think one of my favorite parts of the job for sure is the access we get to people. So I've interviewed a lot of amazing stars and celebrities and performers that I've just always looked up to and really admired. Like, I think of Lana Del Rey, I think of Dolly Parton, I think of Jennifer Coolidge, Lady Gaga, like all these amazing artists that I never thought I would be able to just chat with. So that's a favorite thing of mine, is just connecting with them and getting to hear their approach to their work. I also think it's really cool that Vogue has let me lean into Indigenous fashion coverage. That's something I never thought would be possible at such a big mainstream publication. So I go to sort of like the Santa Fe Indian Market every year, or Indigenous Fashion Arts in Toronto. So getting to go to those events, which are very community based, and getting to cover them and write for them for Vogue is also like a highlight of mine every year. And then of course the Met Gala and the Oscars, those are fun too.
Like how fun. It's like it sounds like the perfect job.
I mean, it's a lot of work.
Of course. I mean, listen, I'm not like I know you're not like eating bonbons all day. Just, I know it's hard work what you're doing, but it's exciting and you love it. And and so when you find something you love and you work hard, it doesn't feel like work, right? It just feels like, I mean, of course you feel tired and it's exhausting and all of those things, but it's also exhilarating and meaningful, right?
Yes. And the juice is always worth the squeeze.
One of the things we like to do here is thank our guests for being here. So we ask our guests to choose a Canadian registered charity of their choice, and you chose Inspire. We love the work they do, so thank you so much for choosing them, and we'll make a donation in your name to as a thank you for being here. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the work they're doing is great. I think Indigenous youth need so much help. It's something I struggled with in school, getting the funding approved by my school. There's a whole chapter about that. So I really think the work they're doing is important.
Well, thank you for choosing them. When we talk about Indigenous fashion, I think there's this idea that maybe you're not allowed to wear it unless you're Indigenous. It's is it confusion with appropriation? Is that where the line is?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. And I think we're at an interesting turning point now where people want to support Indigenous artists and want to do the right thing, but they don't know how. And so the easiest way I can always sort of break it down is like there is a line between appreciation and appropriation. Appropriation is if you go to some big retailer who is selling a knockoff of a Dreamcatcher t-shirt, you buy it, that money doesn't go to anyone from the community, and you're wearing it. That's appropriation because you're not really giving back to the community. You're not supporting anyone from the community, but you are taking something that belongs to the community. But if you want to do it the right way, appreciation is you buy something directly from an Indigenous artist or a source. There's so many amazing brands out there now across all categories, whether it's athletic wear, gowns, swimwear, you can easily find them now. And if you're buying directly from them, you are supporting. And that people are always like, well, am I allowed to wear that because I'm not Indigenous? But if they're selling it 99.9% of the time, they want you to wear it. So yes, you should. I mean, the only things you shouldn't wear are very specific ceremonial items or very sacred things, but those would never be for sale. So I really don't think consumers need to worry about that. I think if it's out there, a brand is making it, they want you to buy it and you're supporting.
I remember, I worked in TV news for a long, long time, and there was a big story about, it was like a headband. It was sold at a big box store, and it was like a headband for little kids, and it had feathers, right? And it was this huge news story. And so the store ended up pulling them because it was appropriation. And this was quite a few years ago now. And I just remember the conversations around it, right? And people going, well, what's the big deal? They were selling it at the store. It's just for kids. And then other people saying, oh, well, no, like that's actually, like it wasn't like a chief's headdress. It was smaller, but it was, well, this is what this is, right? And it just brought up interesting conversations about how we think so much about what we wear, yet we don't really think about what it is that we're wearing.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's changing though. I think people are. I think they're up until very recently, it was that like clothes weren't really thought of as much else other than just being pretty or cool or whatever. But even like some of my closest friends who aren't really fashion people, don't really like keep up. They always ask me now, like, is this brand okay? Like, what's their story? Or like, do you know any brands that are maybe more sustainable? Like, people are thinking about clothes in a different way. And I think that's really exciting to see because that's a very recent thing, I would say.
I agree. What about jewelry?
What about jewelry? I love jewelry.
Well, I mean, I know I do too. And so there's so many incredible Indigenous jewelry makers. And I'm in Vancouver, and there's so many here. And I'm really lucky to have been gifted some from Indigenous friends. And I just feel like it's like my most special jewelry because it always has a story. Jewelry really has a story.
It does. Well, adornment has always been huge in Indigenous culture, and I would argue jewelry has been sort of the most popular thing that we use to tell stories, even more than regalia. It's just jewelry has always been our thing. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, you look at archival photos from like way back when, and they were still decked out in jewelry. Like, it's how we sort of identify ourselves as Indigenous people and how we sort of enter a room jewelry first. Like, that's just our thing. And like, it's one of my favorite, I think jewelry is my favorite component of Indigenous design too, because it's exactly that. Like, there's so much storytelling and tradition that goes into it. Like, this, for instance, is by my friend Tanya Larson. She's Gwich'in from Yellowknife. And I just hearing the sort of process she puts into every piece and sort of the intention, like she'll be like, I got these dentalium shells from this seller because they're the best in this region. And that's how we did it back. Like, every little detail, she's always thinking so intentionally about. And that's what I love about jewelry is it's gorgeous to look at and you feel good in it, but like it's such a powerful thing to wear because it's about more than just accessorizing. It's like a piece of yourself, you know?
100%. I mean, even the few pieces that I have, the story that is on them. Look at this. I have this beautiful copper cuff, and it's a Thunderbird across it, and it's from a friend of mine, and she made it, and she's Haida, and so there's this huge story behind why it's made with this. And about the Thunderbird and Haida, and and so when that, it's not just a piece of jewelry.
Right, exactly. It's really art, and it's like, I up until recently, like, I kind of realized I have an incredible jewelry collection. It's grown a lot, and I was like, "I think I need a safe." Because these things are really valuable, and some of the pieces I have are, like, in museums, so I'm like, I need to stop treating it like it's my everyday jewelry, and I actually need to, like, store it somewhere safe. I thought about that the other day.
Well, it is true, right? And it's like, in a in a capitalistic, society, we always think about, oh, diamonds and gold and diamonds and gold. And I find it so interesting because, I mean, I'm married, but I barely ever wear my wedding ring anymore, right? And I find myself wearing different jewelry now. It's so interesting. But there was a time where the diamond was like so special and this and that. And, and now I see people getting engaged in that, and they don't even wear diamonds. They're getting all different kinds of, and I love that about jewelry. Like, I think that it's a part of fashion that, when we think of fashion, we always think about clothes so much. And jewelry is really fascinating to me, and obviously it is to you too. And I do love your necklace. It's incredible.
But it's funny you say the thing about the diamonds because I feel that way too, like, to me, like, beadwork is much more valuable than diamonds. I would rather wear beadwork any day, and it's also funny that in Indigenous culture, our what we value as luxury is very different. Like, I mean, of course, you'll have jewelers who incorporate diamonds and 18 karat gold, and I think that makes it really cool and luxurious. But most of the things we value as luxury is like not things anyone else would like quality of hide or like glass beads versus not glass beads and antique beads like those are the things that we see as like really valuable. And to everyone else in the jewelry space, they might just be like, it's just a bead, but it's not just a bead.
No, it's not. Or a shell, right? The perfect, beautiful shell.
Titanium shells, like sort of the size and quality of these, for instance, very hard to find.
Yeah. Look, we just turn this into a big jewelry podcast. Like, we love jewelry. I'm really thrilled to talk to you, and I hope everyone reads your book. From the res to the runway. It just came out. You can buy it wherever you find your favorite books. Christian, you have a website. It's Christian J. Allaire, and that's Allaire, Allaire. You're also on Instagram and X at Chris J. Allaire. Your book is everywhere. You're in Vogue magazine all the time. People can look for your name now. I really, really, really appreciate your time. It's just been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Miigwech, for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Be sure to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for another conversation. You can also check out our website, telus.com/podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at TELUS Talks.